The next thing that I want to talk to you about, Dave, is one that really hit home for me. It's information dumping. And I want to share a story before we get into information dumping because I experienced it firsthand. I never had a name for it until I met you. But about 2 years ago, I had someone who was actually the first, believe it or not, Dave, it was the first solar lead I ever had. I went out to this guy's house, gave him a quote. He went dark on me. I considered it lost. I'm just starting. You can't get them all. About a year later, he reached out to me saying that he had moved houses and, hey, I didn't move forward before because we discovered that we would be relocating. Can you come give me a fresh quote for my new house? So now I'm excited, right? I go out. I spent hours, and I mean hours, going back and forth, really detailing the design down to every last panel and inch of usable roof space to make sure that it was aesthetically pleasing, checking all of his pain points, which were environmental and monetary. I spent so much time, Dave, and then I didn't hear from him again. And more time passed, and I still wasn't hearing from him. And about 2 months later, I was driving home. I don't know what I was driving home from, maybe a hockey game. And I knew I was going to be driving by his neighborhood. I thought, hey, what the heck? I'm going to drive by because I just had this feeling in my gut. And I drove by, and there was the system I designed to every panel sitting up on his roof. And I was heartbroken. I took it personally, which I know you shouldn't do, but I did. And with that said, Dave, tell everyone what I did wrong, please.
Yeah. Well, that is probably the most common sales problem known to man. That in itself is a pandemic in the contiguous 48 states. What you did, we give it a hockey term. You did the dump and chase. Now, remember we started this conversation off talking about pain, budget, and the decision-making process. Spending 45 out of an hour meeting, spending 45 minutes talking about pain, budget, and decision, as opposed to 5 minutes and an hour talking about technical dumping, right? All too often, salespeople want to discuss what they know technically, the information dump, getting their own needs met, having people really know that they get the technology. All that does is make the salesperson feel right. Nick, you got outsold by somebody that did a better job of qualifying the opportunity, most likely helping that customer understand that they get the problem and we've got the solution for you because you really want to do well by your environmentally conscious decision. You're really going to save money, and we're going to talk to you about all that stuff and what it does, right? It is the most common problem that salespeople have. Now, think about it. We know a lot. Somebody asks us a question, we can't wait to tell them. Somebody asks us another question, we can't wait to tell them that answer. Now, all of a sudden, they've got all this information. And what do we have? We've got nothing.
We've got nothing.
Right?
Yeah.
We've got nothing. And what's worse, if it's technical, now they have all this information and they're at best confused. What do they do with that information? Go look at somebody else. Right? They probably looked at somebody else that made them feel comfortable, that helped them understand we got you covered. Don't even know if it was a lower price. Might not even have been a lower price. Outsold, Nick. Outsold to somebody that made that person comfortable.
Yep.
Helped them realize, okay, we got to do this. Here's the best way to do it. We'll get through this with you. But you learned a great lesson from it because that doesn't happen that much to you anymore. That's wonderful.
No, I unfortunately had to learn it the hard way. And I wish that I had met you and had this knowledge prior to, because obviously there's a variety of things I would have done differently in the past in my career. But really, Dave, what I think it boils down to, and this is, again, another golden nugget that you gave me, is never give something without getting something in return. And that's not being selfish. That's not asking for too much. You can very quickly identify someone's interest in working with you or your company if they're not willing to give a little to get a little. And like you said,
Yeah.
I'm going to feel great at the end of the day, stroking my ego, talking about all the stuff that I know about solar and all the technical aspects. That's really not getting me anywhere. That's not getting the company where it needs to be. We're trying to get a new client, not show off how much we know, for them to take that and use that as ammunition to have someone else come in and do all the work that you just spent all the time putting into, right? It doesn't help close a sale.
Nope. It helps somebody else get the business. That's what it does.